You see, when I was just a young boy, my father told me about the legend of Abraham Marsh. Unfortunately, my father was recently hit by a blimp, and while I was at the hospital with him, he decided it would be a good time to tell me that he had made up certain parts of the story. Abraham did in fact survive his fall down the mountain, which was not Mount Everest as my father had suggested.
Come on, smile! Your mama always smiles.
And so, after he had recovered from his fall, dusted himself off, and told a yo mama joke, Abraham Marsh descended down the mountain slope. Abraham Marsh was a defeated man, and as he looked out into the waters of a cruel blue river, he contemplated what to do next. For Abraham, suicide was the only escape from his failure. However, that turned out to be a failure too, as he landed on a rock and broke his leg. Abraham spent the next several weeks in a cave recovering from his broken leg, during the day hunting small animals and during the night feasting on their bones. And every night after his tasty and nutritious meal of raccoon meat, Abraham would run to the cliff in front of his cave home, look out into the night sky, and ponder what to do next. On one fateful stormy night, Abraham decided that he would avenge himself and kill his brother. That is, until a loud crash of thunder scared him. After several more weeks of recovery, Abraham was ready, and so he set out on his horse. Well, I guess not. And so he set out on his feet. Night fell and Abraham was exhausted. He tried asking a man for help, but was completely ignored. In addition to his horse not coming when he had whistled, this somehow led Abraham to believe that he had died and become a ghost. In reality, Abraham's horse had been stolen by an American Indian, and the man that had passed by him in the forest had gone deaf due to an unfortunate mining accident. Abraham, however, soon discovered for himself that he was still very much alive, and so he stole the donkey of a Mexican general and finally headed out, ready to find and kill his brother, Fernando Marsh. Over the hills and through the woods, to kill his brother Fernando, Abraham goes. He searched all over the country, high and low, far and wide, under every rock and tree stump, in every nook and cranny, and around every bend. Abraham finally arrived at a place called Pike's Basin. Fernando and a man who worked for him had just finished slaughtering a herd of cattle there and were leaving to engage in more tomfoolery when Abraham spotted them. Abraham set his sights on Fernando's horse and followed it with his scope, but unfortunately shot at it right after it had passed under the head of his own donkey. Next, Abraham tried to sneak up on Fernando and stab him, but unfortunately by this point, the Mexican general whose donkey he had stolen had caught up with him. So then Abraham tried to blind fire Fernando around a corner, but accidentally hit a kerosene lantern, setting himself on fire. So then Abraham tried to sneak upon Fernando at his winter home and kill him with a shotgun, but was unfortunately mauled by a cougar in the process. So then Abraham tried to sneak up on Fernando at his summer home, but unfortunately blew himself up in the process. So then Abraham felt sentimental and wondered if he really should kill his brother, but unfortunately slipped and fell into a river. Abraham was infuriated. He ran into town toward the saloon where he knew his brother would be located, ready to finally face him head on. Abraham charged into the saloon and began hurling insults at Fernando.
What's wrong with your face? Come here and I'll make you a new one. Do you want to die now? Or we start with some torture?
Abraham remembered that Fernando only spoke Spanish and said the only thing that he knew in it.
Why don't you come and lick my cojones?
Cojones!
Fernando was deeply offended by this and decided that he too would attempt to kill his own brother. The brothers agreed to have a duel to the death, but each first set out to try to see if anyone would help them kill the other. Abraham went door to door asking for help, but unfortunately did not know how to be nice to people and ended up just insulting them.
Were your parents brother and sister? You smell of shit! You look like a puta!
Fernando was having only slightly better luck as people couldn't understand his insults.
¿Qué pasa, imbécil? Shouldn't you be home mending dresses, missy?
And so both brothers returned empty-handed, but ready to duel to the death. Each brother looked at the other, ready to shoot each other, but waiting for another to draw their gun at their other and shoot at his brother's brother. But in the end, Fernando did give Abraham the killing blow. And so marks the ultimate demise of Abraham Marsh, who is dead forever.
You piece of shit!
Forever.